Good afternoon. 2 days ago, in broad daylight and without justification, Cuban military aircraft shot down 2 civilian planes in international airspace. Search and rescue efforts by the Coast Guard, which began immediately after we received word of the incident, have failed to find any of the 4 individuals who were aboard the airplane. These small airplanes were unarmed, and clearly so. Cuban authorities knew that. The planes posed no credible threat to Cuba's security. Although the group that operated the planes had entered Cuban airspace in the past on other flights, this is no excuse for the attack and provides, let me emphasize, no legal basis under international law for the attack. We must be clear. This shooting of civilian aircraft out of the air was a flagrant violation of international law. It is wrong, and the United States will not tolerate it. Saturday's attack is further evidence that Havana has become more desperate in its efforts to deny freedom to the people of Cuba. Also on Saturday, the Cuban Council, a broad group that wants to bring democracy to Cuba, had planned a day of peaceful discussion and debate. Instead, in the days leading up to this gathering, scores of activists were arrested and detained. 2 have already been sentenced to long prison terms. They join about 1,000 others in Cuba who are in jail solely because of their desire for freedom. Now, the downing of these planes demands a firm response from both the United States and the international community. I am pleased that the European Union today strongly condemned the action. Last night, on my instructions, Ambassador Albright convened an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council to condemn the Cuban action and to present the case for sanctions on Cuba until it agrees to abide by its obligation to respect civilian aircraft and until it compensates the families of the victims. Today, I am also ordering the following unilateral actions. First, I am asking that Congress pass legislation that will provide immediate compensation to the families, something to which they are entitled under international law, out of Cuba's blocked assets here in the United States. If Congress passes this legislation, we can provide the compensation immediately. Second, I will move promptly to reach agreement with the Congress on the pending Helms-Burton Cuba legislation so that it will enhance the effectiveness of the embargo in a way that advances the cause of democracy in Cuba. Third, I have ordered that Radio Marti expand its reach. All the people of Cuba must be able to learn the truth about the regime in Havana, the isolation it has earned for itself through its contempt for basic human rights and international law. Fourth, I am ordering that additional restrictions be put on travel in the United States by Cuban officials who reside here, and that visits by Cuban officials to our country be further limited. Finally, all charter air travel from the United States to Cuba will be suspended indefinitely. These deliberate actions are the right ones at this time. They respond to Havana in a way that serves our goals of accelerating the arrival of democracy in Cuba. But I am not ruling out any further steps in the future should they be required. Saturday's attack was an appalling reminder of the nature of the Cuban regime: repressive, violent, scornful of international law. In our time, democracy has swept the globe, from the Philippines exactly 10 years ago, to Central and Eastern Europe, to South Africa, to Haiti, to all but one nation in our hemisphere. I will do everything in my power to see that this historic tide reaches the shores of Cuba. And let me close by extending on behalf of our family and our country. Our deepest condolences to those in the families of those who lost their lives. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, why no military response?
President Clinton signs a bill imposing sanctions against Cuba. Congress passed the legislation last week in response to Cuba's downing of 2 American planes last month.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome to the White House. Senator Helms, Senator Graham, Senator Mack, Senator Lautenberg, Senator Coverdell, Congressman Menendez, Congressman Torricelli, Congressman Diaz-Balart, Congresswoman Diana Rose-Latinen, Congressman Deutsch, Congressman Burton, Congressman Kennedy. I hope I haven't missed any members of Congress who are here. To the family members of those who were tragically shot down, Ambassador Albright, Assistant Secretary Watson, my fellow Americans. We are here today around a common commitment to bring democracy to Cuba. 2.5 weeks ago, the world received a harsh reminder of why a democratic Cuba is so important, not only to us, but to the people of Cuba. In broad daylight and without justification, Cuban military jets shot down 2 unarmed United States civilian aircraft, causing the deaths of 3 American citizens and 1 U.S. resident. The planes were unarmed, the pilots unwarned. They posed no threat to Cuba's security. This was clearly a brutal and cruel act. It demanded a firm, immediate response. On my instructions, Ambassador Albright convened the United Nations Security Council, which unanimously deplored Cuba's actions. Dozens of countries around the world expressed their revulsion. Cuba's blatant disregard for international law is not just an issue between Havana and Washington, but between Havana and the world. I ordered also a number of unilateral actions. One of those steps was to have my representatives work closely with Congress to reach prompt agreement on the Cuban Liberty and Democracy Solidarity Act. Within 2 days, and with the extra efforts of our friend Congressman Menendez, Democrats and Republicans came together and produced a better bill. It will strengthen the embargo in a way that advances the cause of freedom in Cuba. Today, I sign it with the certainty that it will send a powerful, unified message from the United States to Havana, that the yearning of the Cuban people for freedom must not be denied. This bill continues our bipartisan effort to pursue an activist Cuba policy, an effort that began some 4 years ago with the Cuban Democracy Act. Under the provisions of that legislation, our administration has encouraged Cuba's peaceful transition to democracy. We have promoted the free flow of ideas to Cuba through greater support for Cuba's brave human rights activists, a dramatic increase in non-governmental humanitarian aid to the Cuban people, long-distance telephone service. And the more the Cuban people are free to express the freedoms and rights their neighbors enjoy, the more they will insist on change. We have also kept the pressure on Cuba by maintaining a tough embargo policy. The legislation I signed today further tightens that embargo. It sends a strong message to the Cuban government. We will not tolerate attacks on United States citizens, and we will stand with those both inside and outside Cuba who are working for a peaceful transition to freedom and democracy. Finally, let me say, as I sign this bill into law, I do so in the name of the 4 men who were killed when their planes were shot down on February the 24th. Armando Alejandre, Carlos Costa, Mario de la Peña, and Pablo Morales. In their memory, I will continue to do everything I can to help the tide of democracy that has swept our entire hemisphere finally reach the shores of Cuba. The Cuban people must receive the blessings of freedom they have been so long denied. And I hope and believe that this day is another important step toward that ultimate goal that so many of you in this audience have worked so hard for so very, very long. Thank you very much. Thank you. Would the members come up, please? And the family members, please. Please be seated. 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 Sit down, please.